what's the story on table 5?
Okay, so this table was looking at sharing ideas and approaches to self and peer assessment. I think following on from the point you made earlier, we all agreed that it was actually a beneficial exercise because students get to learn more about the assessment process and also about where their understanding is compared to others. When it came to looking at the different approaches that were used in different subject areas, it seemed that in the main it was only being used in a formative sense, and sometimes not even in the context of being called assessment. So if you were asking students to review each other's essay plans, calling it assessment might actually kill it.
Yeah.
So actually it would just be this is a task. And so we had a discussion around what is assessment. Is it only assessment when it's therefore compulsory as part of the module? So most of the conversation looked at issues of using it in a formative context. We talked about some of the challenges around whether using it in formative or summative context, around the notion of students actually trusting themselves to give feedback to each other, and how there might be some cultural issues with that in terms of thinking the professor, the teacher, they are the only people who have the ability to be actually giving some feedback on their skills or their performance. And so some of the discussion focused on looking at how we prepare students to actually have the confidence with assessment criteria and assessing each other. And I think we also looked at the role of technology and how important that was in solving some of the issues, especially if you were going to look at using self or peer assessment summatively. So we had some discussions around web PA and how, especially in group work, how a tutor could award a mark and then that could be adjusted depending on the peer feedback that was based normally around group contribution to the whether it's about product or process. So we had lots of discussions around that, but really we all kind of agreed that it was actually something that should be developed more, especially in terms of getting students to be able to reflect on their own ability to learn and develop and support each other.
So, I mentioned before that I think David Bow's work on self and peer assessment is the best. I also think, family modesty, there's another very nice resource that Phil Ray's put together, which is available on his website and on the HEA website, very many layers down, because it was done years ago for the Generic Centre. Just going to the point you're making about students' feelings about self and peer assessment, I had a colleague once, years ago, who turned up at my door and said, I need everything you've got on peer assessment, because we've got the validation meeting tomorrow, and I've written peer assessment into our documentation and I don't really know anything about it. And he said, but we've got to do something because we just can't keep up with the marking. The serious point again behind that being that anybody who thinks that self-assessment or peer assessment is some way of ducking work or having a quick fix is completely mad, aren't they? It's not a quick fix. Students need briefing, training, rehearsal, debriefing in a non-summative mode before they use peer assessment summatively. And yet you will be amazed how many people do use self-peer assessment without going through those phases. Okay.